for the folks at home, Zane, you don't have another serve in the works for if this serve gets canceled that's going to be
Great question.
Unleashed and unveiled upon the world at the time that they think they've finally gotten you.
Oh, of course I do.
We got to talk we got to talk about this on the podcast. Why this is gold, dude.
We'll just, segment it. All right, ready? You want to get into the podcast?
Yes.
What's up, guys? This is Thomas Shields alongside my co-host, Tyson Apostle, and you're listening to PicklePod.
Boom! PicklePod. Oh, we got some music too?
Yeah, but it's over. It already ended.
Okay, that's cool. I like that music.
Yeah.
Our inaugural podcast, Thomas.
How do you feel?
I feel pretty good so far. I mean, you might want to ask me like halfway through and see if this was a complete regret or not. But right now I feel positive and I feel great. And cool. For those that do not know you, Thomas, where do you come from? How are you here?
I come from Michigan. I'm here through my computer. It's a Mac.
Yeah.
It brings me in virtually.
Okay.
How far back do you want me to go?
You're with the Dink. How are you related to the Dink? A lot of people know the Dink in pickleball. You do a lot of dope media, I would say.
Thank you.
And what is your relation to the Dink? Are you the man behind the Dink?
I'm not the man. I'm one of the men, and hopefully one of the many men as we build it out. But I originally started the Dink as a newsletter almost a year ago now, and it's grown into all the random stuff that we do across social media, our live blog, now a podcast. I say live blog, our blog, which is thedinkpickleball.com, first plug of many. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Tyson, I think you need to give them a little background on you, though I did do a good job of it in our newsletter yesterday.
Perfect. I am a 4-time Survivor contestant. I've been on other TV shows as well. So I guess like a pseudo celebrity who fell in love with pickleball and have gotten a lot of support from Fila Pickleball and Gamma Pickleball and Pickle Play app to further my reach in the world of pickleball. And now I've joined you with this podcast. And each and every week we will be here with a new guest in the pickleball world. And today, for our inaugural podcast, we found it fitting to have kind of the man of the hour for the last handful of hours in pickleball, boyfriend to Miss Wisconsin and the Racine Rocket, Zane Navratil.
Well, I mean, I think it's all downhill after this one. You guys might not make it past the pilot, but no, I'm very excited to be here. Tyson and Thomas, you guys have become good friends of mine over the past, whatever. I've really only known you guys for about 6 months, but it's cool to be here and cool to be. Who's the better friend? Well, I'm more of a dog person. So you forgot to mention that I am the dog dad of Murray, who's also on Instagram. And I would put the two of you both ranked behind him by a pretty wide margin.
Smart answer. I like that.
It was a non-answer. Don't do that all podcast.
No, that's Survivor for you, dude. That's exactly. Skirt every single question and never give a straight opinion.
Zane's really too politically correct. Zane, do you remember the first question I ever asked you when I interviewed you in Mesa when I had no idea what I was doing?
I don't know if I do, but I'm very, very seldom accused of being politically correct. So I appreciate that.
Do you know what you're doing now, Thomas?
What?
Do you know what you're doing now? You said you interviewed him when you didn't know what you were doing.
We're learning with your guidance.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Zane, what have you been up to? Playing pickleball.
Well,
you won.
I want to hear.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to hear what the very first question was. No, I don't remember the very first question, Thomas.
Yeah. So I put the mic in front of you. The mic didn't work, by the way, which was almost the case here. And I think I said, and we didn't even know each other at this point. I think I said, Zane, first question, why are you above the rules of pickleball? So even back then, your serve was like in question and causing a stir. And
that was the start of it.
Yeah.
That was the start of it all.
That was, you were staying at my house, Zane. And that
really?
was Mesa in February. Was that February?
It was, yep.
And you had just come out with the Zane Saw serve maybe a week or two previous, and it was all anybody could talk about everywhere you turned, on Facebook, on Instagram. If you were talking about pickleball, it was the Zane Saw serve, which has morphed and morphed and morphed into what it is today. And now everywhere I go, even on my local courts, there's some doofus flinging the ball up in the air with some crazy spin, trying to get more spin on it with his paddle, and hitting maybe one of the worst serves I've ever seen. But you somehow make it look really graceful.
Yeah, I feel like I've single-handedly destroyed the serve of more people in pickleball than has ever been imaginable. Like exactly. Definitely, the serve works for me, but for the vast majority of people, like, you go do this and then you end up missing a million more serves. So
yeah. And then was this your plan the whole time?
Yeah, just stifle the competition, distract them. Make it so that there's no new players coming up through the ranks because they're all trying to perfect something that actually has no impact. So
so good. And Thomas, we have a lot of topics today. We got to get to them because we're only here with you for an hour's worth of pickleball because we don't want to wear out our welcome. We got to keep you there, wishing there was more so that you join us next week. So, Thomas, what's our first topic of discussion?
What's the first topic? All right. Yeah. Well, so it could have been a good segue if we were a little better prepared.
Smoother.
Yeah, and we'll get there.
But I think just talking about it potentially having been a good segue is a pretty decent segue. Like, that would have been a perfect segue. Here we are.
I think so too. And the segue would have led to the Chicago Open, which took place this past weekend. And I don't really want to really go through the results. I'd love to hear what you thought about the tournament, but really what I want to do is I want to walk through that sequence that unfolded between you and Rob Cassidy because nobody was talking about it. And then when I went back and watched the clip, it was awesome.
Do I need some backstory on this, or is Zane going to give me the backstory?
Yeah. Well, Zane, you can give what you thought about the tournament in general, and then we can do that, or we can get right to the good stuff.
I mean, obviously, I'd love to relive my weekend in its entirety, but let's just get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, Zane won doubles, right? You won the men's doubles there.
Yeah, and actually, I'm growing out a playoff beard since the last time that Outlawed Merchant has lost a hand battle. So, might have to shave over in Atlanta. We'll see. But it's a new look for me. I'm trying it out.
I love it. Okay, so let's go to this Rob Cassidy and lay it all out for us. Were you playing against each other? What was happening?
Yeah,
I'll walk. Do you want to walk through it, or I could just read what was in the newsletter because I think it's a good summary and it's concise.
Yeah. Go ahead, Thomas.
Okay, cool. So in I would say the first point that was scored in the match, Zane, you body bagged Rob. It wasn't the worst one in the world, but you did get him. And then the next point you guys lost. So now you guys were serving on the 2. So you were serving to Rob. It would have been 1-0-2. And you kind of did one of your screwballs, one of your spin serves. And he had not a ton of trouble with it, but enough that he sent the return long. So now you guys get the point. You're crossing over. He's walking to the net. And he looks at you and he shouts, which is audible for everyone, a sarcastic, "Congratulations." At that point, you kind of turn back to Morgan Evans. And I don't know what you said, and maybe you can fill in the blanks here, but you made some sort of comment. You guys played the next point and won that one. Then you were serving and it was 2-0-2, right?
It would have been, okay. Maybe 3 because and so I believe my comment to Morgan and part of the fun backstory is I'm pretty sure I mentioned that acing Rob, or in pickleball we use the term ace as just a missed return. in tennis, an ace is a ball that you can't get a paddle on. I think we kind of use the term ace in pickleball as just a return that somebody can't get back, or a serve that somebody can't get back. And so I turned to him and said, that's not going to help my case with the rules committee.
Yeah.
If I keep doing that. So.
Right. No, that was after you hit like the actual ace, which was the next serve where you did a screwball, and Rob Cassidy, like, no offense, Rob, I love you. You were like flailing all over the place, and he could not, and he completely whiffed it. And then he hits the ball back to you with a little bit of oomph to it. And that's when you turn to Morgan Evans and you say what you just said, which was awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so Rob and I get along very well, actually. And Morgan did a very good job. I think I watched the live feedback. He did a pretty good job of adding to the drama of things, because it wasn't as intense as he might make it sound. And also throughout that match, we had a lot of dink rallies back and forth with me up the line from Rob. And he made it sound like that was more of a pissing contest than an actual legitimate strategy. And if you watch, both of our strategies were kind of trying to bait the other person to attack. And so we were having these kind of uncharacteristic backhand to backhand, because we were stacked, dink rallies down the line, which you very, very rarely see in pickleball, that type of rally. And so it wasn't, at least for me, it wasn't like an ego thing. It was a strategy, because if you watch that match, the person who was speeding up first was losing those points. And so we were just trying to bait one another to do it. So
got it. Wait, so I think I missed a really key component that I should have laid out. And one is, you're obviously the most outspoken proponent of the serve and not making the change, which is potentially going to happen. Rob Cassidy is on a USA Pickleball Rules Committee and will actually be offering his input on whether that should change. And he's probably one of the, and I've heard this from a lot of people, one of the most outspoken opponents of your serve. So that definitely played a role in all the drama as well.
Oh yeah, may have contributed.
Yeah.
For the folks at home, Zane, you don't have another serve in the works for if this serve gets canceled that's going to be unleashed and unveiled upon the world at the time that they think they've finally gotten you?
Oh, of course I do.
You're just going to go to the Morgan Evans, aren't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I did that report that was in the Dink newsletter, which you guys should check out. And Morgan's serve using the hand is actually a more effective way of generating RPMs on the toss. And RPM is basically what makes the serve so difficult to do. And so under the proposed rule changes, the way that I toss would be illegal. The way that Morgan tosses would continue to be legal. And so I'm working on that as a contingency. And I think that Morgan's toss is far more difficult to read than mine. I mean, my toss should be pretty obvious where it's going to bounce. I'll just put it at that.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I saw you and Michelle Escobar trading comments on Facebook, which I thought was funny. And you said something along those lines, or you implied it.
Yeah. Playing with and against Michelle it's a very different tone of nice serve, Zane.
What about Rob Cassidy? I'm going to ask about him too with the Morgan Evans serve. Does he have an issue with the Morgan Evans serve?
That I don't know.
Ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
just
guess.
thought I'd ask. Okay. Well, that's exciting. What do we have any feeling for whether or not your Zane Saw will be canceled? Like, what is percentage wise? If you could say right now, like, okay, that's leaning this way or this way, is there a feeling, or is it still just up in the air?
I would say I would have to put it at about a 90% chance that the chainsaw will be canceled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I hate to see it go if it does leave, but I'm so excited to see what you come up with next. Because right, the rules, you look at the rules, you study the rules, you figure out how you can work within their parameters, and then you do what is most advantageous. Think a little outside the box, and that's how all sport has progressed. And sometimes it does get shut down in this way, and that's not uncommon. But something new will arise. So cool. Thomas, do you want to segue into the next one? Do we have some clean segue somewhere?
Yeah. Oh, clean segue. Oh,
yeah.
that's a perfect segue for the next topic here. Actually, let's keep things organized. I want to ask you about the PPA Orlando Cup that's this weekend. By the way, rain delay apparently announced, and they're going to resume at 3 p.m. Eastern. But why aren't you playing that one? And are you going to be watching?
So I'm not playing it because I've had clinics arranged for a pretty long time here. And I'm heading to New Jersey this weekend at the Randolph Tennis and Pickleball Center. Pretty pumped to do it. And yeah, entirely honestly, I think I've been taking it a little bit easier than most of the pros with their schedule. I try not to play back-to-back weekends. I've definitely been feeling it after Chicago for the last 2-3 days. And, next year there's going to be 52 tournaments. We're going to have to pick and choose. So I think it would have been cool to go play Orlando, especially it's pretty big news that it's going to be covered by Tennis Channel. But, you snooze, you lose, I guess. I won't be there, but I'm going to go do some teaching.
All right. Now that's a good segue. You talked about the number of tournaments. It's going to be more than 52 if you think about like TOC, US Open, et cetera, right? Like there's a lot of other tournament bodies out there putting on what I would say are pretty legit tournaments that aren't associated with the APP or PPA. So Rob Nunnery, one of the top pros and who has a podcast, he's frequently blogging. He put a blog out there. The first one was really like just breaking down the cost of pickleball, how it prices out any young gun who's trying to get into the game, like from the get-go, unless they have some sort of means to fund the travel and all of that. So we kind of run into a number of different issues. One of those being like just attracting new talent. One of the other issues, and he released another blog on this and kind of proposing some solutions. Maybe you can talk about what you might propose as far as solutions to this, but the number of tournaments in general is kind of insane, especially next year. I mean, it's going to be one every single weekend, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I guess one of the solutions that I would propose is, first off, I think that competition in a lot of ways can be good. And I think that the competition right now between the APP and the PPA is actually benefiting the players in some ways, and in some ways it's not. But they're both trying to attract players to their tour, which has led to a very, very rapid increase in prize money. And they're both trying to do things like the PPA is now going to be paying out per round next year. The APP has created those player stipends for people in their rankings. And in a vacuum, I don't think either of those tours would have taken those steps to attract players if it weren't for the competition for the others. So in terms of breaking through, I actually disagree with Rob in this a little bit, right? I think we're fortunate in that there's a ton of opportunity within pickleball to either grow an audience or to generate income. And that is not through the playing right now. I don't view my playing as a standalone sort of entity of generating income. I view my playing as a marketing expense, which sometimes I can generate income, which is great, right? I'm out there playing. I use my ranking to generate interest for my clinics, which I do across the country. And that's where I generate my true income, and that's where opportunities arise from. So yes, pickleball is extremely expensive if you're just looking at the dollars and cents of going to the tournaments. But those tournaments give you other opportunities to teach, do clinics, right? I just saw Rob and AJ Kohler, I believe, are going to be doing some clinics in Atlanta, which if they weren't spending the money to go to these tournaments, they wouldn't have anybody signing up for their clinics because nobody would know about them. So I think it's an expense on the, I think it's certainly an expense, but I think it's an investment. So.
What about sort of the argument that we should be putting the best product possible out there on the court? And having too many tournaments means, some of the top players, a lot of the top players aren't going to be able to make it to all of them. So the field isn't going to be as deep. The talent's not going to be there. The product is ultimately going to suffer. And that's going to be detrimental to attracting sponsorship dollars, new people investing in the sport, which then in turn ends up being less money in the pros' pockets, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, I would view it as any other product that's on a shelf of a supermarket, right? If it's bad, you're not going to buy it. If it's good, you will, right? So if there are good tournaments out there, whether they're PPA, APP, USA, Pickleball, whatever, people consume the good product and not buy the bad product, not watch the bad product. So the APP might have to dump half of their tournaments that didn't get any viewership, right? But if they have some that are successful, they'll double down on them. Same with PPA, same with USA Pickleball. So I think we're in an expansion phase where both tours are just trying to get as much as they can on the calendar. Some are going to work, some aren't. But I'm not necessarily afraid that that's going to negatively impact our pockets.
Yeah, got it. Personally, I think it'll all work itself out. And I think we're in a growing stage, and I think we'll have growing pains like that. So I do like your point though that these tours going head to head, it breeds innovation, and they have to take extra steps to put a better product out there at the end of the day. So I think so. Net positive there.
Do the so you said that if they weren't competing against each other, then they wouldn't have brought all that prize money, et cetera, this and that. If one tournament wins out over the other and one ends up evaporating, will that tournament then have any incentive to continue to pay the pros what it's been paying them?
When you say that tournament,
I wonder about that
tournament body,
because
tournament body, correct. So let's say the PPA, they've got contracted players, they're keeping people away from other tournaments. Then because of doing that, for some reason, the APP can't keep up. And then it's only the PPA in existence. And then what's to keep them paying these appearance fees to pros?
Right. I do worry
for them.
I worry about that to an extent as well, because if you've monopolized the market, you don't have that incentive to pay out anymore, right? Like if you own a monopoly in something, you can jack up the price and not face repercussions. However, I do think that there is a pretty low cost to entry to running a tournament. So if somebody came through,
competition.
And yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think if one of the tours wins and they start really screwing over the players, I think that another tour may come in, or one of the tours may have a resurgence. So I think there's probably truth to both sides of that argument.
So I come from a professional cycling background. I didn't say that before because I wanted to remain a little humble. And at a certain level of team, you get an appearance fee based on also the level of the race. So you find where the level of the race versus the level of your team correlates, and that's your team's appearance fee, which then is split between the riders or used to cover some of the costs or expenses of the team getting there or whatever. Is there some type of players coalition or union that could then say, we're not going to be contracted for this tournament or that tournament? If you're a top 10 or top 15 or top 20 player, this is the price breakdown for appearance fees. If all the players got together and the top 10 players in the world said, we're going to stick to our guns, couldn't they then dictate the direction these tournaments are going a little bit more and have at least more input?
Yeah, I think so. And I think right now we have players kind of divided among APP or PPA lines. And so I think some sort of coalition may be a solid idea, just to have a bit of a collective voice in that regard, a little bit better bargaining power with whatever tour or body we want. It's in the very, very initial stages of getting something going like that. But I'll be curious to see how that turns out. But nice part is that it's starting to get some momentum behind it, because I think people are starting to see the need for something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is either, but I think the players themselves need to determine what's best for them currently, but also have the foresight to see what's best for them 5 years down the road. Because if you're just, taking a bag right now and then in the future it's evaporated, that does nobody any good. So interesting to see how that will play out. And I honestly don't have the answers. And I think that it is exciting to see the growth of the sport and see it go through these growing pains and the explosion it has gone through and the excitement for it. And I think everybody's just trying, their best to do what they think is best for themselves, but also hopefully the sport in general.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because we are in such a quick kind of growth phase. And you mentioned that, taking the bag right now, it's impossible to know where this is going to head to 5 years down the road. So, I mean, it depends on what your objectives are within the sport, which decisions you think might be right for you or the sport in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Well, one of the good things is that we're seeing new sponsors come into the sport. Zane, I know you can speak to that because you had a really interesting, pretty photo shoot with Deckel and Ben when you guys signed a deal with Therabody recently.
Wow, Thomas, this was by far and away our best transition yet. The best
good.
We are getting much better very quickly.
I like it.
Yep.
So no, most definitely. I mean, I think you've seen with the professional streaming of the tours, the people are taking notice, and like Therabody is a non-endemic sponsor of myself, Deckel, and Ben. And we're extremely pumped to be the first pickleball athletes to be on the same team as, a Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, if he throws me 1/1,000,000th of his followers, I'd be happy with that. So, it's very, very cool to be on that team. Therabody is expanding just like pickleball. They're acquiring other companies left and right, adding to their line of recovery products, and really, really kicking butt. So their growth, I think, is very parallel to pickleball on probably a larger scale.
Can we talk about the photo shoot specifically? When you guys were all there taking the pictures, were you like, this is gonna be awesome, like these pictures are gonna be great?
Yeah, so I mean,
are you saying that they're not great, Thomas? What?
Just asked a question. All I did was ask a question.
Well, it's not every day that you get to be at a beautiful home out in Manhattan Beach, California, and the housing over there is. You can only imagine what type of investment that might be, and so. I've never had a photo shoot at a cooler venue than that. So
you storied that. You storied that, right? That was like months ago.
Yeah,
you were driving through the neighborhood, showing all the houses, and then pulling up, and then I remember the photos vaguely. I think you were just hanging around at a net with a Theragun. Each of you had one, and I really feel maybe you did this, and I just didn't see it. Charlie's Angels pose could have been pretty optimal there with you three, like all holding the Theraguns like that, maybe for the future, you can talk to marketing about that.
We'll have you on that call, Tyson. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So, well, congratulations there. That's huge, honestly. And like, that's the way the sport's going with the, we talked about Orlando this week being viewed on the Tennis Channel, the first pickleball event on the Tennis Channel. We've already seen stuff on ESPN, on CBS Sports, I believe, has aired some pickleball as well. And so it is in a huge upward trajectory. And sponsors coming in that are not pickleball specific is even more of a testament of that.
Yeah. I think with gambling rolling out here soon, whenever they finally actually do that, like, I think it's going to bring in so much more viewership from places you wouldn't have expected, and bring a lot more people just to the sport. And that's only going to increase. And even the gambling companies themselves now immediately have incentive to invest across the sport. And I think we'll see that impact pretty quickly.
Yeah, from various sports booking agencies. And then I'll just have to have Zane take a fall once in a while to, maximize my dollar.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wrong dude.
As your legal counsel, I advise you not to say anything.
I'm never gambling on pickleball, for the record. It's all only going to be fun for me. So, yeah. And Zane would never do that anyways.
So Zane,
he loves to win too much.
Zane, do you feel you're having more and more of those conversations, or your peers, other players are having more conversations with bigger companies looking to come in and sponsor players like Therabody?
Yeah, I hear through the grapevine that different people are interested or talking to somebody or another. Just this past week we saw pictures of Adidas paddles, which is pretty cool to see. That's a major player, right? You hear through the grapevine that people are talking about this stuff all the time. And if you look at just 2.5 years ago, the only sponsors were paddle companies. Now everyone's got sponsored shoes, clothing, other type of stuff, right? We have one of my sponsors is Duper. They're a rating algorithm that's brand new. So it's certainly evolving very quickly, just like everything else in pickleball, right? Looking back to 2 years ago where there was nothing but paddle companies. Now you can have whatever you want sponsored in pickleball for the most part. So
Right. What's the most interesting one you've heard, rumor wise? Any like huge names worth mentioning?
Rumors wise,
you really gonna put him on the spot like this?
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't. Okay. I probably shouldn't. Unfortunately, I probably
ruined it. Boo. He was going to give us names and products, and he was going to be like, "Well, Ben Johns is sponsored by Boston Market. Do you remember that deli?" I don't even know if Boston Market still exists. That's just
dude. It does. It
Subway.
does. I worked at a company in New York, and every time we did a company event, the one girl who would put it together loved Boston Market. Shout out to Shirley. So we ate a ton of Boston Market. I hadn't had it since I was like 10 years old.
Yeah, all the ones around my house all closed down a long time ago. So cool. Well, I'm excited to see Ben Johns rocking the Boston Market t-shirts and stuff.
I know that
we got that from other sources.
Untucked is coming in. They actually contacted Althoff Merchant, but he turned them down because he's like,
Untuck
Untuck it. Yeah.
Because he always
they turned him down. They're like, my entire look is tucking in, right?
Yeah.
So he turned it down. Probably not great for the sport. They were pretty put off with pickleball after that. So
yeah. Man. And he's really, you got to maintain that image though, because once you start changing who you are for your sponsors, then you lose your authenticity.
Wow, that was deep.
Yeah, keep tucking that shirt, man. That's what I'm saying.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, wait, this is an interesting one. It's sort of like a quirky pickleball thing, but it seems to be generating a lot of conversation. and a lot of passionate conversation within the community. So, Zane, I don't know how much you know about this, but the emergence of the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame in direct competition with the already existing Pickleball Hall of Fame. Have you heard about this? If so, like what are your general thoughts?
I have. I probably have not researched enough on it to have a full opinion, but just gut reaction is, I think when you have for-profit entities like the different tours, right? Actually, I don't know for sure whether they're for profit or not, but they're definitely in competition with one another. I think that sort of competition is good, but in a space like a Pickleball Hall of Fame, I don't know why you need two, right? If USA Pickleball wanted involvement, I feel like they should have. Or one. Wow, that's a savage comment. Are you just upset that you're not in there yet? Number one pro pickleball influencer of pickleball.
I'm upset that I'm not in the made-up Survivor one. I lost out by that. I lost out by well, they already have one, a Survivor Hall of Fame, but it's totally made up. It's like it's no rhyme or reason. And I lost out by like one vote one time, and then they stopped doing it. And so for me, but also I was like, what would I have gotten paid if I were in the Survivor Hall of Fame? And the answer was absolutely nothing. So I didn't really care. So I think if it's something organized and really official, like what the major league sports are doing in the US, and there's a celebration around it, and it really there's a lot of thought and energy and process into determining who's in there. Because with this level of the sport, how it's growing so fast, it's like there's going to be like all 50 pros that are playing right now are going to be in the Hall of Fame within 3 years. And then what? Yeah. So I think you go all the way back to the 60s when the sport started and move slowly through it. And then, sure, one Hall of Fame is great as long as it's a celebration of pickleball and something real, rather than like some blogger at home being like, I like Zane's socks today. He's in the Hall of Fame this week and for the rest of his life. And then like, sorry, anybody who has a tucked in shirt can't be in it. Like, that's just like, yeah. So if it's official, I love the idea. If it's unofficial, get out of here.
Zane, do you have a sock sponsor?
I don't. No. Well, I mean, I wear Wilson socks alongside my Wilson shoes, but I don't know if that's considered a sponsor. Wilson provides my footwear. So
how much would you charge me to wear socks with my Twitter handle on them?
Oh wow, socks with the Twitter handle on them. That'd be something.
Yeah. We're gonna hold you to this.
I mean, how much are you paying? I'll entertain.
Oh, you want me to make the first offer?
Yeah.
They will have to do this off the record, but I'll.
I think this should all be public information. I think the people need to know how much I'm getting paid to wear.
We're setting the bar right now
for sock sponsorships in pickleball. Anybody knows the market for them. Honestly, like whatever number you were thinking for your Twitter handle, I'll put your face on the socks. Do it double.
Okay. Tyson
face on the socks.
Well, what about a hat? Would you do a hat? Because that's more visible, I feel.
You're not a hat guy.
No. I've got this incredible hair right here.
But I have incredible hair too. I just like hats.
Fair enough.
So don't diminish my
Thomas,
hair.
What you got going on underneath that hat?
He's got great hair too.
Nope. Never take it off for a reason. Just kidding. I
can see it poking up. Look at that. See, that's great hair too. Look
at
the shape of that.
Wow, slick back. It's looking good.
I got
coiffed it this morning and then put a hat on over it.
Yeah, well, that's just less maintenance, less work to do.
It is. That's what I do too.
Mm-hmm. Getting back to the important question, Tyson, I think I would have to start at $2,500 per month for Tyson face socks. If you're just wanting the Twitter handle, I would probably put it at $1,750 per month. Prize money matching for certain events. Yeah, we can talk.
Yeah, I'll have my lawyers draft something up for you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And you want social media, it's going to cost you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm willing. I understand. Thomas.
Yeah, set the bar high.
I got it. I got
Thomas
it.
has
Come
it.
on. You had to give like a little pause so I could insert the segue. Now the segue is gone. So Zane, you and I talked about this. You told me I couldn't put it in the newsletter. Then you told me I couldn't put it in the newsletter again, even though I was trying to artificially jack up the price of this thing so you make more money at the end of the day with no ask on my behalf. You have actually a couple like pickleball NFTs that are out there on OpenSea, the NFT market. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, are you the one who created it? Like, just give us a backstory.
Yeah, so I mean, my dad, who is a total boomer, and just surprised me one day with, "Hey, you know this stuff about NFTs?" I'm like, "No, are those the type of T-shirts that you've been wearing since the '80s?" And he's like, "That's something slightly different."
He knew about NFTs and you didn't?
Yeah. This was probably back in maybe February or March. He heard about NFTs, and he's like, "You could make one." There are a lot of artists and athletes that are making these non-fungible tokens where you can take ownership of a digital asset. And so I looked, and that was about the same time that Tom Brady came out with an NFT line, and there was this NBA Top Shot that you could take ownership of certain NBA highlights and whatnot.
I own some Top Shots.
So he said, take a look at it. And so I did. I rode the NFT wave a little bit, and I created a couple of some certain things like hey, there we go. There it is. Look at the plug.
I'm on OpenSea right now looking at it.
Wait, go read what you see. You can, because you can own something pretty interesting there. Something we were talking about.
Pickleball NFTs. There's 6 items for sale. Currently, there's only one owner. I'm assuming that's Zane. And you can buy iconic moments from early in the pickleball career of Zane Navratil and early in the booming sport of pickleball. And then he has 6 nice-looking photos, all a little bit different. There's one with Jenny and Murray giving you high-five licks. There's one of you with someone cheering for your first professional gold medal photo.
I think there's a video of it. That's the video.
Oh, is it a video?
So that was my first gold over when I won that point with Tyson back in January. And then there's the first recorded chainsaw serve, which is probably a good one too. That might be hot on the market right now. So,
and are you taking any bid, or are you holding out for like 17 Ethereum?
So basically, I got busy and haven't been able to do this. But what I want to do is program in royalties for when these NFTs sell in the future, so that some percentage of every sale comes back to me. But I haven't figured out how to do that, and that's one of the big draws to NFTs. So I've had some interesting offers on them, and I haven't taken them up because at this point, if I sell it, that's the only money I ever generate. I would prefer to sell it for a less dollar amount now, but have income in perpetuity programmed into it. For down the road. So that's a project, and you guys, podcast listeners, you guys hear about this before anyone else. I haven't publicized this much on my end. It took some very good investigative journalism from Thomas to find it. So
that's incredible. I had someone offer to buy my first tweet like a year ago. And
what was the first tweet?
It was something about how I had gone the whole day without, something about how I went the whole day without like losing my temper or losing my patience on anybody. And so that was my good deed for the day. Essentially, by not doing something bad, I had done my good deed for the day was what it was. And somebody just out of the blue message was like, hey, I want to buy your first tweet. And this is how you have to set it up so that I can buy it. And I looked at it and they weren't offering that much. And so I was kind of like, and then I just didn't ever put the time in to set it up. But now a lot of people out there that are probably listening to this don't even know about NFTs. It's pretty much, I mean, it stands for non-fungible token, right? And what it is it's online collectibles, virtual online collectibles. So you would maintain ownership of those moments, even though they can be copied and shared. They are not the original. It's much like the original painting versus prints. And so, yeah, that's exciting. And Zane, I have to say, you're probably a pioneer in the pickleball space and industry in creating those NFTs.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anybody else does something similar. But right now, the players don't really own much of their own content to create stuff like this. Most of the content is coming from PPA streams, APP streams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if it'll be up to them to create some sort of NBA Top Shot type thing for people to take ownership of maybe kind of iconic moments within pickleball.
Yeah. Well, Thomas and I are going to put our first podcast together up for sale as an NFT eventually.
There we go.
Thomas doesn't know how to do it. I'll do all of it, Thomas. I'm 42 here, Thomas. And
I thought this whole, before we got on here, you were talking about how, hey, I need to teach Thomas to teach himself. So I'm not,
and that's
not going to help
Thomas,
him with any of this podcast stuff because he needs to learn it himself.
Correct. That's correct. Thomas,
you don't know how to do anything on OpenSea.
I could open OpenSea and figure out how to upload something I own and then put it up for auction. That looks like all it is, right, Zane?
More or less, yeah.
See, if Zane can do it, why can't I do it?
Because
Zane's be able to figure it out.
Zane's he's got an accountant brain.
I know he does have an accountant.
It's all dollars and cents.
Everything is dollars and cents with Zane over here. Do we have any topics we haven't hit yet, Thomas?
No, actually, we actually did a pretty good job, and we're just about right on schedule.
Kept it tight. I like it. Do we have any? I mean, definitely this weekend, the Orlando Open is happening.
Orlando Cup.
Orlando Cup, whatever. Everybody knows what I meant. And and then what's coming up for you, Zane? What do you got coming up in the near future here?
Yeah, so this upcoming weekend, I'm doing some clinics in New Jersey, like I mentioned, and then the following weekend after that, I'm heading to Atlanta for an APP tournament. Should be fun, playing with Althoff and Andrea Coop. And then we have the Major League Pickleball draft to look forward to over in Texas at the beginning of, it's either at the end of September, beginning of October. It's surrounding the Texas Open. So I think that'll be something interesting.
If you get picked last, are you going to be pretty hurt?
I would be happy that I got picked. I'll take it. I'll probably make an NFT of the moment that I get picked. I'll have the streaming stuff right in my face. You can own this moment of Zane Navratil getting picked for the very first MLP draft.
Beautiful. And where can people find you or your content or how to get into a clinic? Give us the scoop on all of that. Where do we find you on Twitter?
Yeah,
Are you on Twitter?
I try to be. Oh, well, not on Twitter. Not on Twitter anymore. You can't buy my first tweets. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as Zane Navratil Pickleball. And I do a decent amount of posting on there. So I also have a website, zanenavratilpickleball.com, and that's where you can sign up for any camps and clinics that I'm doing. So
cool.
Yeah. Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me, you guys. I would say after this pilot, it's probably into the dumpster from here. But I wish you guys the best of luck.
I mean, worst case scenario, we will just replay this episode every week.
That wouldn't be the worst thing ever. That's for sure.
Well, I have a little bit of a qualm, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. You sent me a text yesterday with a selfie of you wearing the Dink hoodie, and now we're live, and it's not on. And I'm a little bit confused.
You had it on, but it's hot.
It's right here.
Got it. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm sensitive.
Look at that.
That's cool. That's cool that I don't have a hoodie. That's fine.
Yeah, what?
Thomas, what do you got going on? You got the Dink up to anything special this week? Are you guys filming down in Orlando? You cutting anything together? What's up?
We'll have some dudes in Orlando documenting a little bit. But if you want to tune into our coverage, just follow the Instagram, the Facebook. We'll have a live blog going all weekend at the dinkpickleball.com. And then after that, I think the next one will be the Texas Open, which is right around September 30, okay. I believe.
Cool. And where can people find you on social media?
All right. So pretty much everything is like Zane. It's the name. So the Dink Pickleball. But if you're familiar with Linktree, you can find everything we have at Linktree/DinkFam.
Okay, cool. I myself, you guys don't even have to ask me what I've got going on. I'm going to San Diego this weekend to play a little bit of poker. And on my social medias, I do actually post quite a bit of pickleball content, but I made my social media handle before I even knew what pickleball was. So it's just at Tyson Apostle all across the board. It's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok even though I'm not near as successful as the Dink is on TikTok. And right now on my website, tysonapostle.com, I do have a paddle giveaway going, free to enter, 2 Gamma Typhoon paddles, and one lucky Survivor fan, hopefully a Survivor fan, but also could be just pickleball fan, will win a Zoom call face-to-face with me on the night of the premiere of this upcoming season of Survivor.
I saw that. I saw that you were doing that. That's an interesting giveaway.
Well, I mean, it appeals to everyone. Either you like Survivor or you like
do you
pickleball,
think anybody's
or you like both. Do I think anybody's going to enter?
Think anybody will sign up for that after this? After seeing how this Zoom call went?
We already have enough signed up before the Zoom call. I made sure of that.
Okay, good. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's it. And Thomas, same time, same place next week. Zane,
absolutely.
Good luck. Let me know when you're in Arizona. You already are familiar with the guest room. So we haven't changed it since you last left. We've left the sheets and everything. So your musk is still on them.
Perfect. As long as the code is still the same, I won't even bother you with letting you know when I'm coming. So
yeah, you don't have to.
It'll be like those guys who creep into your room to make coffees. Like you'll just do that to Tyson. You'll just be like scurrying through his living room one day,
and I will.
It'll be like I never
won't
left.
even be faced. Yeah, that's how I live my life already. Is that like Zane has never left. So, okay, that's it. Thomas, you going to sign us off, or am I going to sign us off?
You can sign us off because I feel like you have something in mind.
I don't. We did it, guys.
Woo! That's from your other podcast. Do something else.
Do something else. That is my catchphrase from my other podcast. You caught me, Thomas. Ooh, man. Zane, how about you? You have a good sign-off phrase that we could come up with that we could steal and use for the podcast the rest of our lives?
Absolutely not. No, I've got nothing.
I got something.
Paddles up.
Later.
No, that's kind of like we did it, guys, but shortened. What about paddles up? No? You don't like that? Veto on both of that?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back. Right. We'll come back to this one.
Yeah, but the first one, we'll think about it. We'll brainstorm. And if you have any good ones for us, let us know.
See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Yo, guys, thanks for listening to the first episode of PicklePod. If you liked it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be huge. Also, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Tyson is telling me that changes the game for new podcasts. You can really help us grow, especially in these early stages. Would really, really appreciate that. Another thing you can do is subscribe to our newsletter at thedinkpickleball.com/sign up every Wednesday morning, a free e-newsletter in your inbox. It's basically the script for what we're going to talk about in this podcast, and it has way more cool, awesome pickleball content from me, our writers, and even pros. Pros write different insights, tips, cool stuff like that. You can also see tons of content like that at thedinkpickleball.com. We do all sorts of blogs. We cover all the live tournaments. There's tips, product reviews, you name it. That's the spot, the hub for pickleball. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Dink Pickleball. And of course, like and follow our Facebook page and join our private Facebook group. We share all sorts of exclusive content across those things as well. So, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.